What happens when Hollywood's princess goes head-to-head with real royalty, and neither side is willing to back down? Picture this. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos are hosting their cheerful morning show, Live with Kelly and Mark. A regular day. Light chatter. Smiles all around, until their guest walks in. Meghan Markle. What began as an ordinary celebrity interview was about to turn into one of the most shocking moments in daytime television. The studio lights gleamed brightly. Kelly straightened her cue cards, while Mark adjusted his earpiece and exhaled slowly. There was a strange electricity in the air, a tension the production crew could feel before a single word was spoken. Welcome back to Live with Kelly and Mark. Kelly's signature smile shone wide for the cameras. Today, we have someone very special joining us. A woman who needs no introduction, but who's been dominating headlines around the world. Please welcome Meghan Markle. The audience applauded thunderously as Meghan walked onto the set. Graceful, poised, every step deliberate. She wore a cream-colored blazer that caught the studio lights perfectly, her expression calm, polished, yet commanding. She sat down with a practiced elegance, fully aware that millions of eyes were fixed on her. Meghan, thank you for being here, Mark said warmly, in his usual professional tone. It's certainly been quite a journey for you these past few years. Thank you for having me, Meghan replied smoothly. But I have to admit, some of the pre-interview questions surprised me. I do hope our conversation today stays within the bounds of respect. For a split second, Kelly's eyebrows lifted. A brief flicker crossed her face before she smiled again. Of course, she said gently. We always believe in respectful conversation. Though I think our audience also appreciates honesty. Honesty? Meghan repeated, a faint edge in her tone. That's an interesting word, coming from a show built on light gossip and celebrity chatter. The studio went silent. Mark shifted slightly in his chair, sensing the shift in mood. Well, he said cautiously, we cover a range of topics, but since you mentioned honesty, let's talk about your recent interviews. You've made some serious allegations about the royal family. Meghan's smile stayed, but her eyes hardened. Allegations? No, Mark, I shared my truth, my life, my experience. Isn't that what good journalism is supposed to do? Give people the chance to tell their own story? Kelly leaned forward, still calm but firmer now. Absolutely. But when those stories involve one of the most respected institutions in the world, don't you think there's also a responsibility to provide evidence? Evidence? Meghan's voice rose and the polished calm began to crack. You want evidence of emotional abuse? Of racism? Some things can't be measured in photos or documents. Kelly. The room was dead still. The usual cheerful morning show atmosphere had vanished. Even the camera crew seemed frozen. Mark tried to steady the tone. But Meghan, you've spoken publicly about conversations regarding your son's skin tone and about being denied mental health support. Those are serious claims that affected relationships and reputations. Reputations? Meghan snapped. What about my own? My family's? Do you know what it feels like when an entire institution turns against you? Kelly's tone stayed even, but her words carried steel. Mark only means accountability. When someone makes statements that impact others, and especially those who can't easily respond, it calls for a bit of care. Can't respond. Meghan suddenly stood, her chair scraping across the floor. The royal family has an entire PR army, centuries of power, limitless resources. All I had was my voice. And I used it. Please take a seat, Mark said firmly. We're just talking. Meghan laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. This isn't a conversation. This feels like an ambush. Kelly rose too, her professional mask slipping. This is professionalism, asking real questions about real issues. If you can't handle that, maybe interviews aren't for you. The air thickened. Meghan's face flushed red, her fists clenched. How dare you question my credibility? I've sat across from Oprah, world leaders, serious journalists, and every time I've told the same story. Mark spoke quietly. Yes, but it sounds a little different every time. That did it. Meghan's eyes flashed dangerously. Are you calling me a liar on national television? The control room erupted in chaos. Producers argued whether to cut to commercial, but everyone knew this was TV gold. Kelly stepped out from behind the desk, meeting Meghan face to face. I'm just saying, truth doesn't change, and your version of it seems to shift depending on the audience. My truth doesn't change, Meghan shot back. Maybe it's your empathy that does. Mark stepped between them, hands raised. Let's just take a breath. We're getting off topic. But Meghan turned on him sharply. Off topic? This is the topic, Mark. This is what happens when a woman speaks her truth and you try to tear her down for it. No one's tearing you down, Kelly said, raising her voice. We're asking the questions millions of people want answered. Questions? Meghan's laugh was bitter now. You want the truth? The truth is, I've lived through pressure. You can't even begin to imagine. The audience watched, spellbound, equal parts shocked, fascinated, and uneasy. It was a moment unlike anything seen on daytime TV. Mark's jaw tightened. So now we're attacking us? We're journalists, Meghan, not your personal advocates. Journalists? Meghan scoffed. You're morning show hosts with good time. Slots, don't flatter yourselves. That landed hard. Kelly's face stiffened. Real journalists, like the ones fact-checking your stories, now they're finding inconsistencies. Inconsistencies? Meghan stepped closer. Name one. Kelly narrowed her eyes. Fine. Let's start with your wedding. You said you were married privately 3 days before the official ceremony, then later said it was only a symbolic exchange. So which is it, Meghan? Meghan's face went pale, then flushed red. That's a private matter between me and my husband. Private? Kelly raised her voice now. You brought it up, in front of 50 million people. You don't get to hide behind privacy now. Mark knew things were spiraling, but he also knew this was unforgettable television. Meghan, Kelly has a point, he said evenly. When you make public statements, accuracy matters. Accuracy according to whom? Meghan snapped. The same institution that leaked stories about me for years? The same family that let racist abuse slide? Spare me, Kelly stood firm. No one is defending racism, but you also made claims about your sister-in-law that multiple sources denied. My sister-in-law? Meghan's tone dropped, dangerous and quiet. You mean the woman who made me cry at my wedding rehearsal, and then let the press say I made her cry? That's exactly my point, Kelly said quickly. First the story was that you made her cry. Then years later you said she made you cry, so which version is true? Meghan's hands trembled, whether from anger or emotion. No one could tell. I told the truth. The palace twisted the rest. But you stayed silent for 3 years, Mark reminded her. You let that version stand. Why? Because I wanted to protect her. Meghan's voice cracked, raw, powerful. I tried to play by their rules. Never complain, never explain. And look where that got me. The audience collectively held its breath. This was no longer just a talk show. It was a storm of emotion, pride, and power, unfolding live. This isn't fiction anymore. It's history repeating itself, where truth, image, and reputation collide under the brightest lights. The tension had reached its peak. Meghan's voice trembled with emotion as she fired back. I never said that. But if you had watched my full interview, you would have understood. The audience gasped. Whispers rippled through the studio. Oh my God, this is getting heated. Is this really live? Why isn't anyone stopping them? Then, in a moment no one expected, Hugh Grant stood up, visibly annoyed. I can't listen to this anymore. This isn't journalism. It's a circus, he said, removing his mic and walking off stage. The camera shook slightly as he exited. Piers Morgan, smirking, couldn't resist. Oh, look. Hollywood's prince is upset. Really, Hugh? Sensitive as always. Just like in your movies. Kelly Ripa, trying to regain control, raised her voice. That's enough. Everyone calm down. We're not here to humiliate anyone, and this is supposed to be a conversation. But Meghan wasn't having it. This isn't a conversation, Kelly. It's an attack, she said firmly. Every time a woman speaks her truth, she's called a liar. You have no idea how heavy that label feels. Piers leaned forward, his tone cutting. Oh, please. You're a billionaire living in luxury, claiming to be oppressed? Look around, Meghan. There are real problems in the world, and you're not one of them. The crowd erupted, some cheering, others booing. The studio had turned into a battlefield of opinions. Kelly tried to calm the room. Everyone, take a breath, please. Let's just pause for a moment. But Meghan, gesturing with frustration, shot back. I've paused enough, Kelly. I've been silent for too long, but not anymore. The camera zoomed in on her face, eyes glistening with tears, but her voice steady and defiant. Backstage, Hugh Grant's voice echoed faintly without a mic. Enough, Piers. You've done enough damage. Piers laughed, turning toward the camera. Oh, look who's saving the day. What's this? Is saving Meghan Markle? Coming soon to theaters? A few people in the audience chuckled nervously, but the tension remained thick. Kelly exhaled, exhaustion clear in her voice. All right. We're taking a break. Viewers, don't go anywhere, and this is live television, and we all need a moment to breathe. The screen flashed. Commercial break. When the show returned, the studio was eerily calm. Hugh Grant hadn't come back. Meghan sat quietly, and Piers shuffled through his cue cards as if nothing had happened. Kelly's tone was softer now. We're back. What just happened wasn't planned. But sometimes the truth is exactly what refuses to stay hidden behind the curtain. Meghan looked down for a moment, then said quietly, I just wish people would learn to listen, not just talk. Piers glanced up, his expression cold. And I wish people would learn to tell the truth, not just play the victim. The camera slowly zoomed out, capturing the uneasy silence between them. Kelly concluded the show, her voice steady but heavy. And with that, we end today's episode. Whether you stand with Meghan or with Piers, one thing's for sure, this debate is far from over.